Assalamu alaikum, it's Ansam Tantish. My presentation is going to be about one of my favorite Shakespeare poem, which is Sigh No More Ladies. As you can see here, William Shakespeare needs no introduction. He is a playwright, actor, and his poems and plays are now fit all over the world, like Hamlet, Othello, and his famous sonnets, and so on. Since most of the people and students who don't know enough about Shakespeare works think that he's an offensive to the women, and actually I was one of them, but turns out that he's not. That's why I choose this poem specifically, and clearly you can tell from the title how he soothed and encouraged the women to avoid depression and so on. Here's the poem, but before we go deep on it, let me read it first. Sigh no more, ladies, sigh no more. Men were deceivers ever. One foot in sea and one in shore, to one thing constant never. Then sigh not so, but let them go, and be you blithe and punny, converting all your sounds of woe into hey, nonny, nonny. Sing no more ditties, sing no more of dumps so dull and heavy. If word of man was ever so, since summer first was leafy. Then sigh not so, but let them go, and be you blithe and punny, converting all your sounds of woe into hey, nonny, nonny. I hope you like my recitation for the poem, and you have to check YouTube to watch the videos and the songs of the poem. But now, let us see some words that you might find difficult to understand in the poem, like blithe, which is mean, happy, and carefree; punny, attractive and beautiful; nonny, meaningless word used to imitate cheerful songs; ditties, short or simple songs. This poem or this song is meant to soothe all girls who have been hurt by man's cheating. It's a quite cheerful little town blaming men's nature for their indiscretions and encouraging girls to avoid depression and not get hung on these cheaters, but carry on with their lives in positive and happy frame of mind. So the theme of this poem, actually the main thing here, is the love and the different approaches to it by men and women, depending on how you choose to read this. You could take it to be deeply um, misogynistic, negative towards women, or pretty offensive towards men, or just as a harmless songs of soothing. And you could also argue there is a reflection on the way people should live their lives. There is a like an idiom, maybe, grab them, which is seize the day, with sum up with the singer or the speakers trying to tell the women the song is intended for. Now let's move on to the poem and the context. At first, this might look like a largest poem, but notice that there's a chorus that takes up half of each stanza. Both stanzas follow a similar pattern. The opening lines aim to console miserable ladies and put the blame of their misery firmly on the shoulders of men. However, as mentioned above, we can view this from two different perspectives. Like, women are being asked to avoid moping around the misery because of men, but surely they have every right to be upset if their partners have been unfaithful to them. Is this poem just was of justifying some pretty terrible behavior for a man by saying that it's a natural instinct and something that has happened forever. Um, Alternatively, can we view this as being pretty offensive to men? All men are unfaithful and unable to commit an monogamous relationship. Really? All men throughout history are fraudsters? Can we also view this poem as being pretty neutral and not meaning to cause such indications? If this is meant to soothe a depressed lady, then this is just a way of placing blame on another party's shoulders. Okay, let's back to the specific of stanza one. After pleading with the ladies to stop sighing miserably, sigh miserably, the song casts all men as having a deceiving nature, compares them to the sailors, have partners all over the place, and then says that they cannot commit to one woman. So in stanza 2, as you can see, if we come back to the poem, the stanza pleads with the ladies to stop singing monologuely tunes, limiting their loss, and before again slagging all the men off as being fragisters since the birth of the humanity. And the chorus also encouraged women to move on and not allow and not wallow for one of a man of one man. There's also a suggestion that they should hide their misery and try to appear positive and happy. Now let's move on to the structure. As you can see clearly, it's a very easy structure. You can recognize easily that there's a two stanzas. Each stanza has a verse, a 4-line verse, followed by the 6-line chorus. The verses are pretty somber, phrase trying to soothe the wounds, the ladies' hearts, and this can be seen with the use of caesuras in both opening lines, and on the third line of stanza 1. Throughout the verses that slow the pace down to sounding the speed. In construct, the choruses end with enjayment as we speed joyfully into a bout of hey, nonny, nonny. Notice here that the second stanza chorus is subtly different as the let him go. It doesn't include a comma here, so there is enjayment here also. So maybe suggesting that the poet's instruction for the ladies to be more merry is being taken and he feels more confident in his joyousness. So now let's move on to the most important part of the poem, of any poem you can read or you can analyze, which is the language and the techniques. I'm going to start with the chorus here, not for any particular reason other than it struck me first as being more interesting. The singer is telling the ladies to be blithe and bunny, which is an archaic language with a rough modern day translation as a cheer up and smile. However, it's not telling them off for feeling as they do, but wants them to hide their sounds of woe with a pleasant and merry demeanor. Actually, I also, as I mentioned above, we could read something sinister into this, but I think this is an acknowledgement that they are entitled to feel miserable, but also that they acting this way they will only build themselves into a spiral of misery that will be never ending. And if you board on something, it always seems worse than it is, and misery is based on breed misery. Then we have hey, nonny, nonny. There's a repetition here. Actually, that sounds interesting, but is really only an imitation of cheerful song. He's requesting the ladies to take up and replace their misery. However, telling ladies to let them go is a quite interesting as implication is that the women are born to mope around after a lover, even though they have done unthinkable rather than moving in their lives. As you can also notice, the opening of the stanza start with sigh no more ladies, sigh no more, which emphasizes the fatality of being monolocally lover. And this line uh, position women as innocent victims in love being manipulated by. In the following, then in the following line, uh, it said men were deceivers ever. So so never be trusted. That's what it means. Um, this is the universal sentence that tears all men with the same brush as liars, tricksters, and cheaters. However, this line also excuses men as it is no longer an individual's fault, but is the curse of their gender. Move on to the following line. There is a metaphoria, if you notice, one foot in sea and one foot in shore. As you can see clearly, um, uh, it's linked the behavior of all men to sailors. Like, could be compared with the common belief that the sailors used to have a different gear in every port, but the phrases also means that men cannot commit to one way of life or another, as the following life qualifiers. Like then, um, to one thing constant never. Links back to the idea of changeability in male lives, but also reflects directly upon their relationship with the women and suggests that they are not prepared to commit to one woman forever. Move on to the next stanza. The opening changed slightly, but it has the same meaning as the first stanza. Stop with your miserable songs. It's not going to change anything. Is an experimental translation. This is how they translate it in the modern translation. Perhaps with a bit less sympathy. Again, this leads in the castigation of a man as the fruit of men was ever. This is the following line of them so down and heavy. This is a phrase that again both criticize and excuse male actions as it makes cheating part of male autonomy. So after you understand the language and the techniques of the poem, you can easily recognize the tone of the poem. Imagine you are trying to cheer your best friends up. You need to sound a bit sympathetic so they know you are not just fed up with them. But then you need to slag their partner off and talks to them about going such an example for a party to get over them. Well, this poem is basically the same sympathetic, but only for a little bit and then quiet, merry and positive. And you can notice that the next stanza it's more positive and merry, which is conclude the change the change the tone and construct the stanza one. You can feel how she's how she's so depressed while singing or while she's reading. I think I'm running out of time, so here I think I would like to finish my presentation. Thank you for watching the video, and this is Zain. Thank you so much.